Come along quietly or not.
You can have all the talent in the world and never get anywhere.
Some artists bait a hook to let you bite upon it.
And now, without further ado,
Coming to you loud and clear.
Okay, we're here for another episode of Planet Shivers. I'm Albert Shivers, here with Isaac Wilson again on the sound. And here, sitting across from me, is probably one of the more exciting local artists here in Pennsylvania that I've had the pleasure to meet. Here with us today is Briggie Williams, also known as Funky Lollipop.
Hey.
Thanks for doing this show, Briggie.
Thank you, Albert. Thanks for having me. I really
This is going to be fun.
It already sounds like it's going to be fun.
Cool.
The pre-ramble.
Good.
Yeah,
So,
preamble.
before we get into things, I just want to hype a book I got in the mail today. This is a book by, it's an art book by the rapper MIA, otherwise known as Mia. And I've been a super big fan of her albums. And I just recently found out that she has this art book that is a lot of her album covers that she designed, which is news to me. And just seeing how like her art and her music go hand in hand. You've ever like listened to her tunes, it would be cool to check out this book. Because like she uses a lot of color and there is a lot of layers to it once you start A, digging into it, and two, like going through the book with her music in mind is pretty cool. So Briggie, let's get right into it.
Okay.
And I guess we could start out with where you started out.
Oh, wow.
What got you artsy?
Well, let's see. I contend that we all know what we want to do from the time we're very small. I believe that we all know what we want. And the reason why some of us get there and some of us don't have a lot to do with, in some ways, the parents we have, or maybe a teacher that we had, or, someone who believed in us or saw our vision or maybe didn't see it. And so I knew from very young that I was an artist. I studied dance and other forms of performing arts. I'm a singer. I sing jazz and blues. And then I'm also a visual artist. So that's what I am called to do. But I always feel like just because you're called to do it, I did it reluctantly because I didn't believe that was really I'm really an artist, but this is what I was born to do, create art. And so I've been doing it for well over, I would say 30 years or more. So yeah.
Nice. No, that's same here. Which one, you mentioned a lot of facets in what you do. Which one was the first, or did they all come about at once?
Dance came first because I was part of a dance troupe that my cousin started, and she was a prolific dancer across different types and styles of dance, jazz, tap, ballet, modern, and she passed that on to me, the power of movement and the lines of movement, and that was just something that was really freeing to me. And then on top of being an athlete, so those two things together were really powerful because you have to visualize yourself doing the movement, doing the motion, and being a dancer and being a painter, it's all about movement, fluidity, and getting a message across. But you're using your body as that vehicle, like the brush, to get people to see that. So all of that stuff was always sort of in my head, and it just pulled me, and I just loved it.
Nice. What kind of mediums of visual art do you work in?
Yeah. Well, that's a deep question because, as we were saying earlier before we started, I kind of go with whatever pulls at me. It seems very artsy, how artists talk, and I was like, oh my God, I sound like one of those artists, but it's really true. I don't censor myself regarding the medium. And I think that artists can have their moments where they feel, okay, I'm going to do a series of this type of art or that type of art. And I think that's good to have that structure and discipline, but I also think it's good to go across different mediums and genres. And so one day I could be doing chalk, the next minute I can be doing using tape, you know. So I don't say, oh, I can't do that. I used to because I was intimidated by the types of materials that would need to be used to create that work. And I had absolutely zero experience doing it because it was so out of the box. Even though I did have training as an artist, I didn't have training to do that type of art. And so it was very, but then I got over it and I just decided I'm not going to hem myself in by saying, I'm not that type of artist. I am an artist. So whatever I create, whether it is a beautiful meal or music or poetry, you know, it's always going to be art, in my opinion.
Is there a medium that you haven't tried yet that you'd like to?
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Well, right. Yes, there is a medium that I haven't tried yet that I am exploring right now. And that is doing, I want to do a sculpture, but I want to make it out of fabric. I want to use perhaps like tulle or something very ethereal and very fluid to create a sculpture of some sort out of fabric. And I think that would be pretty interesting. Very provocative, I think. Yeah, I think that would be very cool.
Really would be.
Yeah, I would like to actually, and again, where that came from, I really don't know. I just, it pops in my head and I go, hey, you know what? I'm going to try that and see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most fun way to do it. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the art that people create, they're creating it to get a reaction from someone. But if you just create what you feel, then you're going to find the audience that likes that, because you don't want to create something that you're not really excited about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You definitely have to be excited about it before anybody can be.
Right.
Because it'll come out in the finished product.
Okay.
If you just half-ass something, it won't come out the same as if it was something you really loved the process of doing and the idea of doing. It will come out different.
You could tell, right? Yeah. Can you tell, like, even in your work, there are things you've started,
absolutely,
right? And then you were like, "This is not it."
Yeah.
Right. And
I've gotten rid of art, which I always, hindsight, never am glad that I've done. But like art that I just wasn't happy with, I'm like, it's not going anywhere, gone. Because I also do notice that if there's something I'm not happy with during the process, I could stick it in a folder or in the closet for however long it needs to incubate.
Right.
And because maybe you aren't at the level that you need to be yet, and you maybe, this is a big maybe an artist can start a piece of art prematurely. And I've had that feeling where I've started something that in my gut, when I hit that wall, I can understand, like, okay, I'm not supposed to finish this yet. So it's going to go in the side, go away, and then I'll take it out when it needs to be taken out. And things have happened that way for me also. I've gone back to things, and this isn't so bad, and with whatever happened to me between the start and that time of taking it out, it has added an extra layer, and I could look at it differently and continue it and hopefully finish it.
So then do you think like there's a different layer of understanding that you brought to your life, that then when you saw that piece 6 months or a year later, it had a different meaning to you, and then you knew exactly where to take it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say that finished pieces I could look at however long later and get something different out of it. You know, and it's more like I don't know. I don't want to hog the whole thing. You're the guest. How do you feel about it?
I'm listening to you. I mean,
Because I can go on and on.
yeah, but well, I feel like I do feel that way. I feel like sometimes. Well, here's where I know when I'm on the right track, and I don't even know what track I'm on when I'm creating something. Most of the time, I don't even know where it's going. I don't know how I'm going to get there, what it's going to look like. But I do know that I have a level of confidence about my skill level and level to detail and, my quirkiness and, when I bring all of that stuff and my level of color, which a lot of my work is just full on blast. Volume 10, it's always turned up to that because that's how I see my inner world. Everybody is wearing the brightest colors imaginable. And then I try to bring that to life. But I feel like once you start a piece, you have to keep giving to it. And then at some point, it'll start to give back to you. And then you're like, oh, I see where this is going, But it takes a while sometimes to get there. And then you have to have patience with yourself and just commit to the process. And then all of a sudden you're creating something you've never thought was even within you, And that's why I love when I get a download of a flash of artistic genius, not from me, but just from the universe, because we're all sort of pulling from the same artistic cosmos. We're all pulling for all the artists from beginning to time to now to the future. We're all swimming in that beautiful pool of creativity, and maybe something that I may not do, somebody else may do, and so, but we're all pulling from it. And so whenever something comes through that is outrageous and beautiful and different, I have to give birth to it. I have to do it. And if I can't, I have to write it down. I have ideas I've written down, I've got for so many years. But I feel like they're like my nagging children that you're always pulling at you, pulling at your dress or your pants. Create me, create me. And you're like, no, I can't. I've got to work and I've got to cook dinner and I've got to do. But all of these ideas are trying to get all of your attention all at once. And that's when you need medication. Well, no, not really, but I'm just saying. But they're all coming at you at once. And one of them are going to get priority. But the other ones are going to be nagging at you. And so that's why I write them all down. And I've noticed over the years, that's a good technique, because if you write the idea down, it kind of gets them to be quiet for a little bit, but then you can always refer back to it and incorporate that into another idea. So it's important to try to really keep a log of and little sketches of what you had intended. Because then later on, when you go back to it, you'll be like, wow, that was a good idea. I'm going to incorporate it with this new thing. And so that's why I believe whatever you feel as an artist you want to create, you should just do it. And don't say, well, I'm not, an oil painter. I'm not watercolor. I'm not, you know what I mean? You're not until you are. And it doesn't matter if you're good at it or not. The fact is that you are actually doing it. And it's not even a matter of just being good. It's a matter of just your spirit's telling you to do it. And there's got to be a reason for that. So it's good to pursue that. Yeah. It'll bring a lot of peace to you, I think, if you pursue your artistic visions.
Yeah. It's probably keeping a lot of people sane and alive.
Yeah.
Just truthfully.
Definitely. I know many artists, of course, throughout time, have had issues and art saved them. I know art saved me. I mean, between athletics and dance art, all of the different disciplines, they that's been my best friend. That, what I mean? Those little characters understood me, and I was able to find peace within the process of creating.
Right.
And stillness within the and wonderment, because you create something like that snowman. I had no idea that I even had that ability, and I just said, I'm going to just use tape and see how this snowman turns out.
So let's talk a little bit about the snowman for anybody who doesn't know what we are talking about. So I'll just give a brief little insight on what the deal was. About a year ago here in Stroudsburg, the idea was thought up for 6-foot styrofoam snowmen to be painted white and then handed off to artists for them to do whatever they like to do on them through approval. Wasn't anything too crazy. And there was a tremendous variety amongst the 10 that were created. And Briggie, you did one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say definitely one of the most interesting ones.
Thank you.
So
Mm-hmm.
from what was that process like?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about the medium.
Well, the process was, of course, we had to submit, drawings of what we were going to do. And I more or less did these geometric shapes in very bright colors. And I thought, okay, that would be cool. I'm going to just paint them purple and some red, and I'll outline it in black. And, I didn't know what the face was going to look like really, but I just thought, okay, I can create a face. I thought I was going to do a traditional sort of snowman. And then it dawned on me, I think this would be really brilliant if I could do it all in tape, with duct tape. And it was great, but it was also scary because, like I said, I had never worked with duct tape before. And luckily for me, there's a company called Duck, I believe, and they make this insane array of colors.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Have you seen it? Yeah, absolutely eye-popping, beautiful colors. And I used duct tape, electrical tape, and HVAC tape to create the snowman. And the process was pretty interesting because it was wow. I don't even know how many cuts I made to create the shapes and everything that I had to do. And then I wound up weaving the HVAC tape. I took basket weaving, which I think is an interesting jumping off point. Just as an aside, I think that as artists, we should just be absorbing as much information and then actually doing hands-on stuff. So I take watercolor classes, and like I said, I did basket weaving, and then I did some punch needle embroidery art as well. And I studied ceramics, but I'm not saying that I'm going to be a master at all of these things, but what I am saying is, because I took that basket weaving, I was able to incorporate that into that snowman piece. Right. And I think those little tricks and those little things that you have in your arsenal, those little talents that you have, you can elevate it, and you can take your piece to a different place because you've incorporated something. Yeah. You're right. No, it's very non-conventional.
No, I agree with that.
Right. So if you just take the non-conventional and incorporate them into something that is conventional as a snowman, then you'll come out with something that's really unique and different. And so that wasn't the plan going in, but that was certainly what I learned from doing it. I learned that.
I would bet if you somehow you sent the picture of your snowman to Duck. Can you imagine? They'd probably love that.
So that's a
you might
great
get endorsed
idea.
By Duck making art with their product. Kidding me?
Do you see the product, the piece I'm doing now? I did that with duct tape also. But yeah,
send them the snowman first.
I'm going to send them the snowman. I'm not going to send them the other. I'm not going to send them that one. I'm going to send them definitely.
Feel them out.
Yeah. I think the snowman thing is actually very cool, and it's an idea. I will. Why not?
And you also, just speaking of interesting mediums, you also did balloon art.
Oh, right.
Balloon art of the lake.
Right. Well, yeah, my balloon art. Wow. Okay, so that particular type of art that I did, again, was something I stumbled on. I was, I had a shop with some friends, like a store, and we were having a grand opening, and they were going to be like kids there, and it's going to be very festive. And so I thought, oh, it'd be kind of interesting and cool if I make little animals for the kids. Something, of course, I'd never done before, but I was like, how hard could it be? You know what I mean? You just, do this and do that, and you just squeeze the balloons together, blow them up. How hard could it be? Well, it turned out it was pretty hard because I created like horror animals. I don't know what they were. Some had heads, one had an arm. It was crazy. So I was at home practicing, and as I created the pieces, I just put them down on the couch, and then I, of course, started just looking at them and staring at them, and then I started to really see all of these different shapes and very abstract and really intricate and interesting, and I photographed them. And then once I photographed them, I was able to really just study them and create basically what you saw, which we were saying it sort of was like alien genitalia. Some of it certainly does look like that.
They all have ones that I've seen, and I'm glad I was the only one, because it makes me feel like I don't have as dirty of a mind. But a lot of them were very suggestive. Okay. When you look at them, and maybe it's, I'm the first one to say that it's it's not, it could be nothing to do with art, it's just what people make of it.
It was intense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was intense.
Especially because they were also lit up.
It was, that's right. Thank you for reminding me about my art. I printed them, and then I had them illuminated in light boxes. And then actually what I did too was after I photographed them, I just really saturated the colors because, again, I like that very turned up, bright,
right.
Really amazing colors. And the combination of those things really took it to like the screaming edge of insanity, I think, in terms of what you could do to a common party item like a balloon.
Right.
But yeah, I illuminated the work, and it was really well received as something very peculiar and odd and strange and different. Again, just going with that, don't limit yourself, don't
right.
And don't try to copy someone else. I think if you listen to your own artistic voice, you'll never copy anyone, because you're going to create your own originality, your own work. You may be influenced, but straight copying someone is, I've seen a lot of that.
Right.
So that balloon art was born out of just trying to make little animals for kids, and I saw something in the work just sitting there, and I just decided to run with it. And I have a lot more that I haven't even printed yet, but I'm gonna print and illuminate those. And yeah, but it's pretty provocative. I think a lot of people were not a lot, but I mean, I showed at the first Friday art walk in Scranton, and it was, people were kind of like, what is this, and I thought that was good that they were able to see something different. I think art is supposed to provoke you, and I think people are intrigued when they are able to see this person is really trying to tell a story, and instead of judging it and putting it down, I should try to find out what it is they're trying to tell me, with their art. It stretches your mind. Yeah. If you let it.
It's true.
Yeah.
As great as the balloon art was, it totally ramped it up that it was illuminated. It gave it that much more of pizzazz to it to attract people's eyes. Because there was one, it was on a particular wall. That was like the corner to be in.
Oh yes, yeah. That one that was like, how should we describe that? It was sort of like a large penis, a large pink, because they were balloons. penis with these legs that were sticking up in these elongated balls. I don't know. It was just, it's like I'm not doing it justice as the artist, but that's what I saw. I mean, I saw a lot of things, but the more obvious thing was that it also looked almost like I said, like, alien genitalia or something like that, like very peculiar and twisted and provocative and a little uncomfortable. And, it made you, it is kind of like, wow, we're all standing here together looking at this and we can't stop looking at it, but so it kind of makes you feel a little bit dirty. But I think we all need to feel that way in public at least once or twice, right?
Right.
So yeah, but it's good to see people's reactions to it. I like it. I really do. It makes me feel like, well, we're able to share this, and you can go home and say to whomever, I just saw the most amazing, bizarre, strange, whatever you felt, kind of art, and I think we should go back and see it together. Right. You know what I mean? And I think that's fun when you can explore that. I like seeing, as an artist, I like seeing art like that. Like your art to me it's really thought provoking. I see the work involved as an artist that you do. It's very intricate. It tells a story. I don't want to say it gives me insight into who you are, because I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze you, but it actually does give me some insight, just into like the way your mind works, and because people may see a package and think one thing, but then they'll see your work and go like, wow, like that came out of you. So then you just exploded another, myth or thought that they may have had or projected on you. And I get the same thing. People project a certain, and then they see your work and they don't think, I was showing one place, and when people figured out that it was my work, their thinking was, but you're not. They think if you're a woman, there's a certain type of art you should be doing. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be, alien genitalia. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not, it's naughty. Don't do that. Or some of the stuff that I'm doing for the upcoming show. Like, why would you do that type of work? Like, I don't knock people who want to do the types of work that, but my train is going in a different direction than what most people are doing. And that's not to be provocative. It's just answering whatever call is inside me to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there are artists who are doing things that are a little more, we'll say, safe, that wouldn't really, maybe don't even want to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, I just heard a story recently of artists through the ages, especially when things were much more easy to get condemned for, who had the art that they'd show.
Yes.
And then art in their basement.
Correct.
Like there was a period in history when, during like way back when the Christianity ran Europe, where trees, greenery was dirty to paint. It was not allowed.
Right.
It was a tree was too suggestive. Like to get a tree through, you'd have to have a big religious figure, like a big Jesus or a big Mary, and then way in the back, a tree.
Right.
And this one artist, again, whose name I forgot, but who was brilliant and did tons of these big religious paintings that people loved.
Right.
He dies, and they go down his basement, and he has these beautiful, huge murals of nature that he had to hide.
Wow.
And that seems extreme to us because it's nature, and now you can gag on nature and landscapes. But there are other things now that and I have art that no one has seen that I stash away. For whatever reason, I feel I need to do that.
Right.
I probably don't, but
no. Probably not. But again, we all judge ourselves, hold ourselves back or judge ourselves regarding what we will write. Will someone see this? Which means in many ways that we are still kind of catering to the status quo because we're too concerned with what they will think, whoever the they are, but for all the work that's hidden away and people feel like they're ashamed or not willing to, come out of the closet, because I think you don't have to be gay to be in a closet, because we're all in a closet of some sort, we're all hiding something, so I think the art that we don't show is probably the most powerful art that we have within us, because it's sacred to us, so we want to keep it to ourselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're even ashamed of it or afraid of what people think. It's just you have a relationship with this piece of art that you don't want to share with anyone else, and so you want to keep it to yourself and admire it, and not have judgment about it from anyone else. And so, you know what I mean? So I have pieces like that I I look at and I admire it. And I mean, sure, at some point, I'll show it, because now I feel like, okay, it's okay. But they are like your babies too.
Yeah.
And you don't want to sell your originals. You never want to get rid of them. But it's difficult. But you don't know that you've got more in you.
Yeah.
And some artists feel like this is all I have in me. And if you feel that way, then you're never going to be able to move on from a certain style or type of art you've created. I think you need to go through these little evolutions of what you can create, and be as prolific as possible, without being obnoxious about it, because some people just like to offend,
right?
And then it's like, why bother?
Yeah. I think offense in art it's a very small and quick payoff. You'll get that whatever the reaction is, and then it's over. I think offense isn't held on to, where if you love a piece of art or a piece of art gets your mind going, you tend to hold on to that memory of that piece of art or the film or whatever.
Sure.
Made me think, or if it offends you, it's just like, ugh, and then you put it out of your mind.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there are some pieces that do. There is art that is offensive, but it's offensive. I guess it just depends. I mean, I can't speak to it all, but even the art that is offensive then becomes, over time, it has a different meaning to it, because of a lot of this black memorabilia art. That, to me, because of the time that work was created in, who created the work, the message they were trying to tell about black people through that racist art, has stuck with us, and now it is a part of America. You can't not be a part of America. Using black people to sell soap and pancakes and, farina grits, and using indigenous people to also sell, products without their consent, and in a way that is not flattering, is all a part of why I feel the work that artists create today have to tell more of a story. And even if some of that work from the past is pulled in, I think that that's a good thing, to remind people of the history of that work. That's something else that I feel very strongly about, and I'm pulling some of that type of work, artwork from that era, into my more current work as well. And I think it needs to be out there. It needs to be in the public square. I think people need to see that. I see some of your work kind of referenced that. I think you and I talked about that a little bit. One day we were at Gamut, and there's the piece you have of the woman with the syrup. Yeah. And she's drinking it, and her head is bad. There's so many layers to that piece. We spoke about that. There's so many hidden meanings to that piece, but they're only hidden if you don't understand the history of it. I mean, that's just what I took from it.
And that was a piece, just to reference back very fluidly. That was a piece that I had stashed away. Because I was like, nah, the world's not right for this one. In the closet. And it was, it wasn't that I wasn't ashamed of it. And I just was more worried about people seeing it the wrong way. Not what I intended it to be.
And what was it? What did you intend?
What was the wrong way or what I...
No, what did you intend? Yeah.
I intended that with the breaking down of stereotypes. That was my motive in making it. And I feel like I nailed it, but my problem with putting it out into the world is that not everyone's going to look at it that way. And more importantly, because it's a dark-skinned woman in the picture, the white lens looking at that drawing is what I was most worried about, because it is a sensual painting too, and it has like sexiness to it, but that's not all that there is to it, you know. And that was what I was worried about, people only seeing that element of it, and worst of all, liking it because of that element, you know, because it's not just sexy.
Right. Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. I could see it from this perspective. And again, because I know you as an artist, but let's just say if I just removed that element of our relationship and I just didn't know you and I just saw that piece of work, I would look at that. A lot of the work, I mean, you cannot separate the art and the artist. Do you know what I mean? So the artist created this work, is this artist of color. You see what I mean? So there are things, of course, that if I created that kind of art, it wouldn't come across a certain way, because I'm black. The person in the art is of color. She's black. It's a syrup bottle. It's an Aunt Jemima bottle. You see what I mean? There's a lot of, that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of connotations in there, you know, and it's like, okay, so who's the artist and who decided they can create this art and objectify yet another woman of color with another stereotype in a hypersexualized way, which is what black women are known for. See what I mean? So there's just like a lot of different layers to it. And so if I read into it that way, there's a different interpretations. And so I think the fact that you were able to pull that off in a way that is provocative and thought-provoking, you know, and, you know, in very sensual at the same time, with telling a message with the use of that particular image of the syrup, the Aunt Jemima syrup, you know what I mean? So it sort of plays dual, you know, in the culture of the way black women have been cast in society. They're usually like this very hypersexualized, ready. If you look at movies, even from the 30s and 40s, even into the 50s, even today, that stereotype has carried over into a lot of the mainstream. And where you'll have like the fat black mammy who is very, you know, she's sassy, but she is not sexually threatening to anyone, and she's gonna be there to take care of all of the white folks and their kids, and she's kind of like the family, but really not, because she's still a servant. But then you've got like the sassy black sexual woman, but that piece that you created, you have both. You have that sexual image of the black woman with her head back and pouring that syrup with the Aunt Jemima, which is that. You see how you've got them together? I mean, it's really, to me, it has a lot of meaning, and I love it. I think it's really very provocative. I think that's great. That's, you know, that's that's my critique, my breakdown of it. But, you know, because you're not just looking at the work. I mean, it's very, and it helps me become a better artist, you know, which I think we as artists should inspire each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that work has impact. I think it's going to hold up. It really is. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? We were talking about this. I don't know. Have you seen the art that we're talking about?
No, but you
Okay.
mentioned it to me.
I'm just gonna go grab it.
Oh yeah,
And
please.
just so Isaac knows.
Yeah, so you
what
can
we're
be
talking
in
about.
on it. Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Oh wow, check it out.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love it.
So yeah, let's segue from there.
Okay,
I think this
sure.
would be fun to talk about because I think we both consider ourselves to be a little artists, but outside of, just kind of outside the realm of the regular artist or one of those artists. So like, one thing that's always very hard for me is the artist schmooze. How do you feel about the schmooze element that it takes to get your stuff seen, that self-salesman thing that you have to have?
Yeah.
That's hard for me.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Well, again, I think it has a lot to do with your, oh boy, yeah, the schmooze. It's gonna sound cliche again, but I told you I'm an artist, but I also have contempt for the artist.
Well, as do I. So that's why.
Right, but not seriously. But so you're called to be an artist, like you're called to be an engineer, like you're called to be these things, and it's really up to you to answer that call. And so, of all the things in the world, would I have picked an artist? I don't know. I don't know, because the path is very intense, and people think art is optional, and art is not optional. Art is part of what makes us human, and so there is no option. There's no, well, I'm not sure. Do I really need art? Like, do I need air? Do I need, you know what I mean? You need it. You need music. You know what I mean? You need human touch. These are essential, and art to me is right up there with the essentials of living, of life, of understanding. So as far as the schmooze is concerned, I took a little train ride. But as far as the schmooze is concerned, I think that's something that we just have to. Right now, that's just the nature of the beast as it relates to our work. I think the work should speak for itself. I think, maybe the work should do like 99% of the talking, and you should do like 1%.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, don't hold me to that, but I'm just saying, in terms of just saying, here's what I'm doing, and then the person go, wow, do you have more? You see what I mean? So the work is kind of showing itself, and so I don't want to have to try to talk you into the work. If you like the work, if you want to see more of the work, then yeah, let's go and do that. But I understand what you mean about. I mean, even when you're doing the shows and stuff, you have to be there, and people are going to ask you about your work.
It's like the best way. It's like exercise to me.
Okay, is
it real to me?
Okay,
like it's not. It's very tough for me.
But I feel like if this is what we want to do, we want to get our art in different galleries. We want to get our art seen. There are some really, really great documentaries on, which I love. I'm totally into documentaries, but there's a really good documentary on Netflix about this very topic. And some of the artists, I don't want to say which ones, but some of the artists are showing in some really phenomenal places, but it's not so much the art as it is their personality, and all of the little tricks and hoops and things that people do, to get people interested in their work.
Right.
Even though the work itself may not be interesting, there's so much a character that doors will open for them because of that.
Yeah.
And so the schmooze is people want to know about you as the artist. That's something I keep in mind. Right. And it can seem be a little self-centered. You know what I mean? Especially if that's not how you feel. So I think people well, I know people want to know about you as the artist. They want to know about your process and how you were able to create that. Because to us, it may seem like a very pedestrian thing as artists because it's something we're constantly doing. But for people who aren't as talented or don't have that kind of imagination, they want to get inside your head. And I think you should sort of open that door for them so that they can at least see a little bit of who you are behind just the painting on the wall or, you know, a snowman or something like that. I mean, just, you need to be vulnerable at some level. You know, beyond the art you create, you need to be a little vulnerable because they want to know more about who you are and how you got there. And so I don't think that's the schmooze, you know what I mean? I think that's being real and that's really helping them to understand and take what you're trying to say seriously, you know, and your work and your vision, even if it's something whimsical. You know what I mean? Do it with, you know, with everything you have, and let people know that this is something fun, and, you know, it may be abstract, you may not get it, but I'm going to help you to see what this work is about, and you'll open their minds to that, and that's something that they'll appreciate going forward a lot, especially abstract art. If it's representational, I understand people can get it, but even though your work is more representational, it is very abstract in its meaning, and so there's a dual thing going on, and that would be great for you to have opened that doorway for them, you know, that visual artist mental doorway for them to then look at other art and get it, you know. And so that's what I think about. So is it really a schmooze? I don't think that's what I'm doing, but again, to talk about yourself,
well,
yeah.
maybe schmooze, maybe that wasn't the perfect word.
Yeah,
that's how I feel, and I love this kind of talking about art. It's I haven't found my path yet. That balance.
Yeah,
for me.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I want to say that you have some qualities I wish I had in terms of no, seriously. I observe that qualities like you know, I'm like more outgoing. You know, I wish I could be more reserved. I like the reserved, dark, brooding artist. That's you. And, you know, and I'm like totally opposite. I do brood. I have my brooding moments, but I don't look like a person that would be that way. And I think that your persona lends itself because that's one of the stereotypes of the, you know, disassociated brooding artist that's contemplating the abyss. I mean, you know what I mean? And so a lot of your work looks like you've been there and you've come back and this is what you brought with you.
Right.
And I love that. I do. Well, I love that. Yeah, I do. But so yeah, so I sometimes wish like, okay, I need to just like, but you know, I have to also accept this is just who I am as well. You know, and I do get that. Wow, you seem so totally opposite of what I see you creating. So there's a paradox there, you know, where I may look one way, but I create something different, and so it works. Yeah, you know, it just works. But I think me personally, I think your Albertness is what is you're right there. You know what I mean? I think it's great, even though it may seem inside you may be like feeling a certain way, but it kind of comes across like, oh yeah, he's an artist. Leave him alone. It's okay. He's an artist. You know what I mean? Which I tell everyone. You know, it's like, look, I'm an artist. That's my new out. You know, when something is, when it's not quite right, I go, you know, I'm an artist. so, you know, that's it.
You could use that for more.
I do. I go across the board, you know. It was like, okay, I was trying to put a tie together. I was a little late, you know, okay, I get it. I'm an artist. Okay, so you know what I mean? I was just like, however it works, I'm just going to use it for, it's a catch-all for everything. I think all artists should do that, but not really, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, we all have our thing.
We can use it to get so much mileage out of it.
Yeah, I'm like on like year mileage, right? I don't know, but
I'm gonna next time I get pulled over.
Just tell the cop.
I'm an artist.
Tell them you're an artist.
Hey,
I can't.
I'm an artist.
I can't. This is what it is, and I'm an artist, and so I'm on my way to watch paint dry, and I had to speed to get there. So that's my excuse. That's my.
It was
excuse.
very urgent.
It was urgent, certainly, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so I think if we just are ourselves, people will either love you more for your art or they will love your art, because there are a lot of artists that we may not like who they are, as a person, but they created some really amazing art, so there is certainly that particular line of reasoning that would say, well, how do you tease those two things apart? And I think we're sort of in a climate now where people are kind of trying to figure that out. And
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, what do you do?
Where can people find work to look at?
Yes. Well, okay, beyond at Gamut Art Gallery, here in our fair little hamlet of Strasbourg.
And at this point, when this comes out, your work will be there.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, that'll be there. And then there's another piece. There's some other pieces I didn't show you that are some abstract pieces. And then I am going to show some of my balloon art is going to be there as well. So it'll be illuminated. It'll be there. So that'll be there at Gamut. That's our first Friday, right? June 1st. Is it June 1st? Okay.
June 1st for 3 months.
For 3 months, thank you. And then also on Facebook, I'm Funky Lollipop, and on Instagram, and I want to say Pinterest and some Twitter. I'm not really a Twitter person, but I feel like I just need a presence there. But more of the work can be seen more on Instagram.
Okay, and on Instagram, Facebook. It's also
it's Funky Lollipop. Yeah, I create under Funky Lollipop, which we didn't get into how that name would happen. How did that happen? But that's for another time. But but that name just kind of. Quick, I was just trying to hide out. That's basically it. I was trying to be on social media under any other name other than Briggie Williams, so that all of my friends from Facebook wouldn't find me on Pinterest or find me on, because you know how everything aggregates. Oh yeah. Your friends are also here and they're there and they're there, and I was like, oh my god, I just don't want that. I just want to sort of and I just came up with the name, and then all of a sudden I thought, this would be a cool name to create under. And so, so Instagram is really, and then also I'm funkylollipop.com. I have a website, and you can go and see more of the work. I have to put more work up there, but I will certainly put up the piece that we talked about tonight. But some of the balloon work is there. And also, I do some photography of fire as well that we didn't even talk about. So, but I think we should kind of loop back around again at some point, and I can show you some of my fire art as well. So, awesome. But funkylollipop.com, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook.
Cool. And that's funky with a PH.
PH, yes, because that's how funky I am. Yeah. yes, it's with a PH.
So great, and you could find Isaac's stuff at When in Zen on Instagram. That's when_in_Zen. And you can find my stuff at Albert Shivers on Instagram and Albert Shivers on Facebook. Thank you so much, Briggie, for doing this show. This was fun.
Very nice.
I'm glad we got a chance to have a nice, good, long conversation.
Yeah, a one-on-one. And I really appreciate you opening up your space and your home and your time to artists, local artists who want to get their voice out there.
No, you're welcome. That's exactly what I want to do.
Thank you.
So we'll have to do it again.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Planet Shivers podcast. This production and others can be found on iTunes, SoundCloud, and archives.org. It can also be found with video content on the Albert Shivers YouTube channel. You can find even more content on Facebook at Albert Shivers Visual Artist and on Instagram at Albert Shivers. You can find Isaac Wilson's work on Instagram at WhenInZen. That's when_in_Zen. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe.